One of the things that we don't want to do when we hit the golf ball is allow the club head to overtake the hands in what would be classed as this hitting area. So if you imagine there was a couple of lines in between my feet here, what you can notice is if I perform it correctly, see the way my hands stay ahead of the club head coming in towards this impact phase, and then we'll notice at this post-impact position by my lead ankle, the way the club, my hands, my lead shoulder are all absolutely nicely in line like so. What we don't want to be doing is something like this, because it just makes you really inconsistent at golf. So the question is, how do you lead with the hands, and what's one of the feelings that you really need? Well, the key thing to understand, I think, is most shown from the sidearm perspective. So in the backswing position, we move the hands and arms to the side of my body. And what's happening is my right arm is folding, right? So it's externally rotating, it's allowing a little bit of rotation of the forearm, and it gets me into this position because my right arm is moving away from my body. So that brings my left arm close to it. Then as I come in towards the downswing, my right arm is not trying to re-establish the same position. My right arm is trying to now move back in front of my body. Okay, so now you can notice if I get into this correct delivery position, see my elbow is either to the side or in front of my hip, depending on your preference. And from the takeaway position, when my hands are through my toe line, we can now notice the way my hands are further in front. From here, my hands keep moving, okay, till they get opposite my lead ankle as I allow that club face to rotate. Now, this can be sometimes quite an unusual feel, and this is why we designed the Gravity Wand. The Gravity Wand is your traditional shaft extender drill. Now, the problem with it, you see, is I see lots of golfers that do the shaft extender drill and they just do this. Now, this is incorrect, okay, because this would just mean that you'd end up swinging off playing with a hugely open face and you'd just miss-hit it. The reason why this is incorrect is because what we're looking for is, as I take it back, I want to keep the extensional part in contact with my lead hip, and then as I get towards this hip high position, you'll notice the way it's through my toes. So if I go a little bit more for some momentum, as I then come down, you can now notice the way that my hand gets in front of my foot, like so, like I mentioned. But all you've got to concentrate on is two things, okay? If I was to face you, I start with it on my hip, I take it back through my hip, through my toe line. As I come in towards this hit, the first thing you've got to focus on is allow the extensional part to hit you in the lower rib. That means that you're bringing the hands on the correct angle into the back of the golf ball. Simultaneous to this, allow your lead arm to rotate. Okay, so if I do those two movements again, I take it back on my hip, back to hip high. I then bring it down so it hits me in the rib cage as I supinate my arm. And that really is, when I start doing this with students, they can just go around practicing these feels. And that's why this exercise is absolutely key.